My partner left me waiting for 2 hours at an upscale restaurant on our anniversary. When he finally showed up with his buddies, he loudly proclaimed, "See." I said she'd still be sitting here like a hopeless idiot. His entire crew erupted in laughter. We'd been together for 3 years, and I just finished clearing his car loan. I forced a smile and ordered another drink. The next morning, my phone showed 82 missed calls, and all his belongings were stuffed into trash bags at the landfill. 3 years ago, I met Derek when my apartment flooded after my upstairs neighbor left their shower running for days. Who does that? I stayed at my sister's place during repairs, and Derek was the plumber sent to fix the mess. He kept finding new problems with every visit, which I now suspect was his excuse to keep coming back. Back then, I thought it was charming. Now, I wonder if he tampered with the pipes to drag out the job. At the time, I found him easy to talk to, a rarity for me since I'm usually shy around strangers. By our first year together, things felt perfect. We moved in together after just 9 months. Too fast, I know, but his lease was up, and it seemed practical. Derek worked as a plumber, but struggled to hold a steady job. He'd either get sacked for being late or quit, claiming his supervisors were fools who didn't value his talent. That was the first warning sign I ignored. Over time, Derek sent me long, bitter voice messages ranting about his boss, mocking his work ethic or appearance. He'd insist he was the one keeping the company afloat. I saved those messages in a folder, even downloading the nastiest ones. I'm not sure why I kept them. Maybe some part of me knew they'd be important later. He did the same with his parents, especially when they refused to loan him cash. He'd send vicious messages calling his dad a loser and his mom spineless. Once, after they declined to cover his car payment, he sent a 6-minute tirade about how they were pathetic. Those messages unsettled me, but I stored them anyway. By year 2, I was footing most of our bills. My job wasn't flashy, but it was reliable. I told myself relationships require give and take. Sometimes one person carries more until the other finds their footing. Derek always swore things would get better soon. 6 months ago, Derek's car, a 2016 Charger he couldn't afford, broke down. He was crushed, calling it his pride and joy, insisting he needed it for work. Stupidly, I offered to help with the payments, eventually taking on the whole loan. It strained my finances, but I wanted to support him. Looking back, it's clear how misguided that was, but at the time, it felt like I was helping our future. Last night was our 3-year anniversary, and I just made the final car payment. To celebrate, I reserved a table at a luxurious downtown restaurant we'd always dreamed of but could never afford, meaning I couldn't afford to treat us both. I spent hours getting ready, a new dress, hairstyled, everything flawless. I arrived at 7 p.m. Derek texted that he was delayed and told me to get seated. By 7:30, I'd sent 4 texts with no response. By 8, I'd called 3 times, all going to voicemail. The server gave me pitying glances, asking if I wanted to order or reschedule. Mortified, I kept saying he'd show up soon. At 8:45, after nearly 2 hours alone, Derek strolled in with 4 friends. This wasn't a mix-up. He'd never mentioned bringing anyone to our anniversary dinner. They approached my table, chuckling and clearly intoxicated. Then Derek turned to his friends and said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear, "See? I told you she'd still be here like a hopeless idiot." They roared with laughter. One friend, Mike, added, "Man, you weren't lying. She's obedient." Derek slid into the seat beside me, pinched my cheek like I was a kid, and said, "This is why she's perfect. Most women would have bailed, but my Sarah? She pays my bills and waits like a champ." He smirked. Did you think this was a romantic date? Adorable. We've got a card game later. Just needed to make sure you'd cover the next payment. When I didn't respond, he grabbed my jaw and sneered, "What, nothing to say? Or are you just gonna sit there looking pitiful?" His friends laughed again. I couldn't breathe. 3 years together. Thousands of dollars spent on him. And this was how he viewed me? The server returned, visibly uncomfortable, and asked if we were ready to order. I smiled and said, "Actually, I'll take another wine." Derek and his friends ordered pricey appetizers and drinks, still mocking me. Derek pointed at me and told the server, "No food for her, she's watching her weight. Any bigger and we'll need a wider table." More laughter. After my wine arrived, I excused myself to the restroom. In the mirror, I stared at myself for 5 minutes. I wasn't crying or furious, just finished. 3 years of excuses, financial burdens, and ignored red flags. That's when I made my decision. No drama. No tears. Just deliberate action. I opened my messaging app and scrolled through the saved voice messages of Derek insulting his boss and parents. I texted my friend Lauren to pick me up. Then I returned to the table, smiled, and said I had to step out for a work call. On my way out, I quietly paid for my wines and told the server he could handle the rest. I left, blocked Derek's number, and got into Lauren's car. But I didn't stop there. Over the years, I'd helped Derek with tech issues, giving me access to his email, cloud storage, banking app for car payments, and social media. I knew how to share information effectively. That night, I sent the voice clips of Derek bad-mouthing his boss to his supervisor and the ones insulting his parents to them. I canceled all shared subscriptions, packed his belongings into trash bags, and changed all my passwords. The next morning, I woke to 82 missed calls and frantic texts from Derek. "What did you do?" His boss had heard the clips and suspended him. His parents were devastated. And the car? When I reported the fraudulent loan with proof, the lender repossessed it. By noon, I'd packed all his stuff, 16 trash bags, and dropped them at the dump. No regrets. Within a week, Derek lost his job, his car, and his reputation. His friends learned the truth, and his parents cut contact. 6 months later, I've moved forward. I got a new apartment, adopted a cat, and started saving the money I once spent on him. Derek? He's crashing on couches, jobless, and still blaming everyone but himself. That night was supposed to be a fairy tale evening, a celebration of 3 years together. I'd envisioned a romantic dinner, soft candlelight, and heartfelt moments. Instead, it revealed Derek's true character. When I arrived at Etoile Brillante, the city's most exclusive restaurant, I was thrilled. I'd saved for months, cutting corners and skipping treats to afford this night. My sapphire blue dress fit perfectly, and the delicate gold bracelet Derek gave me last Valentine's Day sparkled on my wrist. The host led me to our table with a warm smile. "Anniversary dinner?" he asked. I nodded, beaming. "He's just running late," I said, glancing at my phone. As minutes turned into hours, my excitement faded. The server's sympathetic look stung more than the candle's flame. Other diners stared, their expressions shifting from pity to amusement. I ordered a second glass of wine to keep my hands busy. When Derek finally sauntered in at 8:45 with his rowdy friends, my heart sank. This wasn't a mistake, it was intentional. His smug grin said it all. "See," he announced to his friends, loud enough for the room to hear. "I told you my bank account would still be waiting like a loyal puppy." Mike, his loudest friend, laughed. "Damn, you've got her trained better than my dog." Their laughter echoed as my face burned. What followed was worse than I'd imagined. Derek ordered the priciest dishes, knowing I'd pay. Made cruel weight-related jabs about me to the waiter. Boasted about how I'd just paid off his charger. Admitted this was a test of my devotion. In the bathroom, staring at my reflection, I didn't see the broken woman Derek expected. I saw someone ready to act. That's when I remembered the evidence I'd unknowingly collected. Voice messages of him trashing his boss, rants about his worthless parents, texts planning this humiliation, and flirty messages with a coworker named Tara. First, I handled the finances, canceled the car loan's final payment, fraudulently obtained, reported it to the bank with proof, and froze our shared accounts. Next, I targeted his career, sent his toxic voice messages to his boss and HR, along with proof of his time theft. Finally, I dealt with his personal life, forwarded his parent-insulting rants to his family, and sent Tara evidence of his other flings. I packed every trace of him into trash bags. 1 week later, car repossessed, job gone, parents estranged, friends distant. 6 months later, I'm in a new apartment with Luna, my feisty rescue cat. The money I once spent on Derek now funds my goals, including a solo trip to Thailand next month. Derek? He's couch surfing, broke, and still pointing fingers at everyone but himself. This isn't just a story of revenge. It's about what happens when you stop settling for scraps from someone who's been dining at your expense. The real power isn't in striking back, it's in walking away so fully that your absence becomes their greatest lesson.